How's it going, everybody? My name is Dustin, and today I'm going to show you how to make a chest. The reason why I wanted to show you how to do this is not just because I'm making the chest, that's not that difficult, but also because it shows you how to do basic animation with simple rigging, and it also shows you how to use shape keys. So if you go here and you drag the value, you notice how this outline, that's what I called it, gets bigger and smaller. And this is really useful for later on, and say you're making a video game and you have a character with like a nice fit build, you can create all these different shape keys, and then say if you put in Unity, you can change the sliders and the guy can become fat. Right? So let's just jump right on in and I'll set up a new scene. Okay. So I've created a new scene here just with the starting cube, and that's what we're going to use to make the chest. So what we're first going to do is add a mirror modifier. So if you go to the modifiers, add mirror. Now you'll notice nothing changed. The reason being is the modifier is based on where the pivot point of the object is. So if you tap in edit mode, press A a bunch of times, doesn't matter how many, just make sure you don't have anything selected, then press B, click and drag, you'll grab the one side vertices. If you pull this over, you'll notice the shape is continuing, and there you can tell that it's being mirrored. So let's get rid of the face, because we never want to have faces inside the mesh. And then put clipping on. What this does is when you pull it here and you let go, now when you try to grab it, it stays. So if you go into perspective mode and zoom in, you'll see you have a perfect square. You know, it's done normally on both sides. You can only hit the one side. It'll change both sides, but it's also perfect square lined up. That's good. That's what we need. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is go into the side view and start making the curved part of the chest. So B to select the top, E to extrude, and then we want to size down the Y. We know that the Y is this direction because of the little indicator in the bottom left corner. Extrude again, size it down the Y. You don't have to worry too much about the form right now, you just want to make sure you have the enough amount of cuts. So let's put it like that. Now we got the form perfect. Good, I like that. Now as you saw, my chest had the bevel on the edges. You could give a bevel modifier, but that'll bevel everything. So we're going to do this manually. Control R to do a loop cut, and then we'll line it here. Loop cuts are very handy because they do exactly that. You can add a cut to vertices without having to redo your mesh. So we'll add one there, but I also had one in this direction. So at a loop cut, then with the scroll wheel, we'll choose 2. Click it down, good. Now size it up on the Y, and we'll get about to the size we want, which is there. Now the issue with what we've just done is that there actually isn't a line here. So if we go to the side view, and let's say we had these selected, we're going to notice that we don't have a line here. The way to get around that is just add a loop cut and pull it to the top. And now we don't need all these extra vertices because this is the same angle. So if we were to click these two and then do Alt M and at last, that won't change anything. And over here, Alt M at last, and do the same thing here. This is good because now we're reducing the amount of vertices that we have. So we'll do something like that. Good. Now's the next thing. Go into the right view, make sure you have nothing selected, and grab this one line here. With the V button, or the V tool, I guess you could say, it puts a slice right down the middle, and then with the Z, you can just pull it up and down. So we'll put it there. And I think this chest is too long, so I'll pull this down. My chest has a little bit more flair too. I pulled this in a little bit in all directions, so I'll do that. Now now it looks like we have a chest, but the insides aren't done. That's not hard. If we go on the side view, B to select, we can then extrude, size it down only on the Y to start, and then size it down on the X, and you'll notice they didn't cross this line because of the clipping, and we got a nice shape. E to extrude on the Z and size it down. That's not so important anymore, but it's just the inside. You could have done it to the same way so it follows these lines, but I don't mind the way I'm doing it. I'll just leave it like that. I'll extrude it one more time on the Z, size it down, and then press F to fill. That way it has an actual face here, because before it didn't. Remember, this was open. So if I were, like I said, to go in first person mode, you'd see that it's closed off here. Otherwise it wouldn't have been. Now, we're going to do the same thing in orthographic view, side, B to select whatever we need, click extrude, then click size it down on the Y, and then size it down on the X. Side view, extrude on the Z to pull it down, size it down, F to fill, so now we've created a face. Good. So we've now made our chest. Good. Next thing we want to do is add the simple animation. So to do that, Shift A, and we're gonna add a single bone. It went where my cursor was. That's not the best. And the best way to get around this is to actually put the cursor to be where this is. So Shift S, and then cursor is selected. So now it's right at the origin of the chest. I might even want to go into edit mode and pull this up so it's all mashed up on the bottom. Good. So now Shift A, armature, single bone. Now you can't see it, so you're like, oh no, how am I supposed to do this? It's going to be so difficult. Don't worry about that. Just go in the armature tab, turn on X-ray, and now you can see it wherever you go. Side view. Tab to go into edit mode of the bone, and we'll rotate it, let's say -90. Now I know this isn't lined up. I could have rotated a different way, but that's fine for now. We can just pull it down. This isn't as important, and we'll just make it that. Shift D to duplicate, and we'll put it about here. This one is very important. If we turn off X-ray, we can see where the bone will actually be rotating on. The bone will be rotating on this circle, so we're going to want these two lines here to line up similar to this. So if I grab it and pull it there, and maybe even a little bit more, something like that. Doesn't need to be exact. That's going to handle the rotation. I'll name this pivot, and I'll name this base. I'll give this the parent of the base, so that way it'll follow this around no matter where it goes. So the next thing you need to do is parent the chest to the bones. So first select the chest, then shift click the bones, then do Control P with empty groups. The reason why we're doing empty groups is because it's very simple to set up the animation and to make the groups ourselves. Or not to make the groups, but to assign the weights to the groups. What that means is each bone now has a group for it, but it won't affect the chest in any way. So we go to side view and go on the chest, then we go in edit mode. What we can do here is press L if we're moused over the top part, and L to do the bottom, or we can just do the top. For now we're just going to select the top, we're going to go over here, and we'll notice, look, we have the vertex groups based off of the names of our bones. And we're going to assign this to the pivot, and we'll go press A on select and then L over here, and we'll assign this to the base. Good. So if you tab out and go to your armature, pose mode, if you rotate this, it rotates. But now you're like, oh no, there's a space there. That's an easy fix. Just go here, tab, select this, L, and pull it down as close as you want it to the bottom piece of the chest. I like to leave a little bit of space, because then you can see a little bit of the red sticking out depending on the way you look at it, so you know it can be opened. And there you go. So tab and look at that. It's perfectly aligned on the rotation. If we rotate it, it'll rotate in any direction we want. You can change this by adding constraints, so it can't rotate on those two, but it doesn't matter for the animation. We'll just leave it as it is. Good. So now we're going to add the shape keys. These are very important because in a game you can create, let's say, a sword, and then give it a bunch of different shape keys, and then you can have one sword that looks like 10 different swords. It can morph, it can evolve, right? So this is good for changing your creatures, like Spore did, or this is good for changing it to the gender of your character's a guy or a girl. You just slide the shape key over. Then it's using all the same animations and everything. That's actually very handy for a video game. So, let's go in and start doing the shape keys. You can only add a shape key when you're in object mode. So press the plus. This is the basis. You don't want to change this one at all. This is letting you know what the normal look of the object is. That's fine. So in here, you'll notice that I had these growing. The way I did this was I went into face mode, I made it so I can only see what I was looking at, and I selected all the faces that I want to have stick out. So let me just do that now. Now I've noticed I forgot to add a loop cut here and here, so I'm going to add those quickly. There we go. Back into face mode, I'll reselect everything once again. Okay, so I have everything selected that I want to have extruded. The problem with shape keys is, as I'm aware, or to the best of my knowledge, is you can't add vertices and then create that as a shape key. It won't work. the vertices need to already exist. So let's just press E once, and we'll leave it as it is. Just don't let go of those. Make sure those are still selected. Because right now we have vertices on top of other vertices. Okay. If we go back into object mode, let's add a new shape key, and we'll call this, it doesn't matter. I'm going to call it blue. Completely irrelevant. So if we tab out here, now let's size it up on the Y, size it up on, sorry, the X and then the Y, it doesn't matter. Good. We can't do the Z because then it'll pull it in the directions we don't want. So what we're going to have to do now is take these ones separately, and then pull them up. Like so. So, if you tab out, you'll be like, oh no, my changes didn't happen, or they didn't apply, but they did. You now have this slider, and you can pull it out, and voila. You can now see the shapes. Handy, right? What I recommend is just change the minimum just off by a very small amount. That way the vertices are slightly off, just a teensy bit, and then you won't have any errors with Unity or any other programs having vertices on top of one another. Cool. Now we're going to do the coloring. The way I do coloring is very simple. It creates a bunch of different textures. So the first one, we'll make this the brown color, and that looks about good. We're going to add the next color. We're going to want this to be yellow, and we're going to add another color, and we'll want this to be a red. Now, the thing to know is for a video game, you don't want to have all these materials. You'd want it all attached to one thing. And since the models just have solid colors, we could just do press in edit mode, all of it, U, and then we can just unwrap it, or Smart UV Project. I would say if you did Smart UV Project, what will happen if we pull this over, and then we go to the UV image editor, create a new image. The size of this doesn't even matter, to be honest now, so do 8x8. It can be a really small picture. We'll call it chest, hit OK. It's put all the things nicely done for us. Since they're solids, they won't matter, and then we can say make the image here just a red cube, a yellow cube, a brown cube, and then drag the specific bases to those sections. However, to speed time up, I'm not going to bother with that, and I'm just going to assign the 3 different colors here directly to the chest. So, I'll do that now. Alright, so we now have a chest. It has the shape keys, so if you pull this along, they'll get bigger or wider. This might not be the best example of a shape key, because if I had a character you'd really get it, but if you understand the principle of this, it'll help you a lot. Now let's go into animation. So if we grab the 2 bones, we can change the view to animation. Okay, so we're now in the animation frame. If your object has still been rotated on from the different bones, just feel free to press, I'll rotate mine as well just to show you. Press Alt R and Alt G and it'll clear the rotation and any other transformations it has. Over in the action editor, you're going to want to create a new action. I did that already and I just called it chest anim. So all you have to do is switch dope sheet to action editor. There'll be a plus here and you just call what you want. I like to do all my animations within one overall action, and then within Unity itself I break it up. So at frame 0, I'm going to insert a visual location rotation. Good. Now A to unselect it, B, the B tool, grab what you want, Shift D, pull it over, and we'll pull it to the 10th frame. From 10 to, we'll see when, maybe 30, it'll be the open animation. So let's go into side view, we'll pull it to 15, and we'll rotate it to about here. I, visual location rotation. So as you can see, it's starting to open up. Then around 17, we'll give it a little bit of a kick. So it goes like that. Rotate it back up a little bit maybe. And then rotate it back down to there. So if you want to play this, you can put the start and end times at the bottom here to 10, and we'll say 20, and we'll press play. That's much too fast. We can slow these down. Zoom into the scroll wheel. B, grab, and we'll put it at 20. Pull this over to there, something like that. So now pull our frame to 30. This still is probably much too fast. That's okay. You can always slow it down in Unity as well, so that's what I might end up doing. But for now, we'll leave it with that animation with its nice little kick. Now, the close animation is very simple. Let's zoom this out. We want to take the last frame, we'll duplicate it, we'll start this one at 40, and then we want to start off with the original frame that we had, and we'll put it at about 45. So if we were to play this, 40 from 45, you'll notice it just closes. It closes crazy fast, and it's on repeat. But if you were just to drag this along, you can tell it just goes like that. Good. So those will be our 3 animations. Now that we've made those animations, you can test them out. If you put this to 0, and that's at 45, and you just press play, you'll see it opens and it closes all in one go. You also now have the blend shapes, so you can change the shape of the chest ever so slightly. Obviously you can make these more advanced based on the things you're making, but this was just for tutorial purposes. If you wanted, you can look at a material view, and you can put perspective mode, and there you have it. So now I've taught you guys how to make a chest, how to do simple animation, simple rigging, and shape keys. If you import this all into Unity, you can get this all to work, and it'll look perfect in your game. You can put an item inside it, or whatever you'd want. It fits any kind of use. Thank you so much for your time, thank you for watching. Leave a comment below on what you'd like to see added to the game, or what other tutorials you'd like to have done, and I'll make them for you. I've made a Facebook and Twitter, so feel free to follow me there. And yeah, thanks again for watching. Take care, everybody. Hello again, everybody. I know they said the video was over, but I decided to throw them in the game here and just run to them and see what they would look like. They should be animating. Those are floating. But they should be animating. There they are. Over there. Beautiful. So, as you can see, the one on the right has the shape key all the way out, the one on the left doesn't, and now they look like 2 different chests. You can give them different textures if you wanted, but now you've basically created one chest to fit multiple uses. And, yeah, that's the animation. Right now, the choppiness, that's just because I somehow have a negative keyframe for my end frame. That's a bug on my own part. It probably won't happen on yours. Anyways, thank you for watching, guys. Cheers.